All right, so this is one of the most important sets of notes that you're going to take throughout the year because it is about how we develop self-government in the 13 colonies and how that ends up leading towards the type of government that we have today in the United States. As you go through these notes, you'll fill in a few blanks, and there are some questions that are weaved in and out of the notes that you're taking that I will not answer. Many of those are opinion-related questions, so make sure that you're prepared to discuss those when you return to class next time. All right, so here we go. The need to establish colonial self-government, or self-government in general, is going to rise out of an abuse of power in England. In the beginning of the 13th century, King John is ruling England, and he is what you would call an absolute monarch. He can do basically whatever it is that he wants. Remember, we discussed before the idea of the divine right of kings, that you can do what you want, they can say what they want, and everyone just pretty much has to fall in line because that's the king. You have to do what he says. So, as England's monarch, or king, King John is using very unfair practices in order to control his people. Some of those practices include unfair taxation. He is making rules that limit individual rights, and overall just has a dictatorial style of leadership. So your foundation, again, for self-government comes from King John's actions that are angering the people of England, especially the English nobles. So they use their political and economic power in order to force King John to sign a charter protecting the fundamental rights of the people. This charter is known as the Magna Carta, or Great Charter, and it is signed on June 15th of 1215. So the Magna Carta in 1215 will limit the power of the English king. That's my little rhyme to help you remember it. All right, so the Magna Carta. This charter limits the king's power and protects specific individual rights of the people. Those rights include due process of law, property protection, and proper taxation. Remember, these are the things that they're upset about. Due process of law allows you to go through a process, or a step-by-step process, I should say, in order to determine whether or not you are guilty or innocent of a crime. Because King John and many of your monarchs in Europe are ruling absolutely and can do whatever they want, if they say that you're guilty of something, you are automatically guilty. There was no jury trial guarantee. There was no time frame. Often you didn't have a lawyer, any of those types of things. And if they said, hey, dude's guilty and should be put to death, you would be put to death immediately. No questions asked. So due process of law is a very important individual right that's included in this Great Charter. Okay. Although many of these rights are protected under the Magna Carta, it only serves a small portion of the population, mainly the wealthy nobles who had forced King John to sign this document. However, it will serve as a foundation for future protection of rights for all people, and not just that limited amount of nobles. Something very similar is going to occur in the United States when they first established our government, and it really only applies to a small number of people in our population. And as the years go on, you have the enfranchisement of many groups of individuals in the United States as well. Now, the significance of the Magna Carta, the ding, 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 why is this important, is that it is the first Western document acknowledging the protection of individual rights, that people's rights have to be protected, that you need to have it written down in order to ensure that those rights are guaranteed. The English tradition and structures that are served in the Magna Carta are going to be examples of future English and colonial documents. So the Magna Carta becomes the basis for all of the documents to follow. One of those documents is the English Bill of Rights, which is going to be put into existence in 1689 by England's Parliament. Parliament is England's lawmaking body similar to our Congress, and it furthers the protection of individual rights by forcing the King of England to sign into effect the English Bill of Rights. Now, the English Bill of Rights is going to serve as an example for colonial bills of rights, as a example of the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution, which becomes known as the Bill of Rights for us in the United States. You'll notice some similarities to the English Bill of Rights and the U.S. Bill of Rights, which shouldn't come as too much of a surprise because your colonists are, in fact, from England. most of them, and are English. So their background, the things that they believe should be guaranteed, are going to be very similar when they establish the United States of America. The first written colonial constitution is the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. It is adopted in 1639. It's Connecticut's constitution. It protects the individual rights of the colonists in Connecticut. And this is going to establish a religiously tolerant government, and it helps to serve as an example for future colonial constitutions. So it is the first written colonial constitution, Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. That is why you need to know that one. Significance. Woo. All right, American colonial rights are going to continue to evolve under so many different documents and groups of people. Remember, the English colonists do consider themselves to be English citizens. As a result, they want to make sure that they can maintain their English rights even though they are across the ocean. So even though there's a whole ocean separating them from the mother country, they want to maintain their rights. They want to make sure that they are treated as English citizens. So to ensure that they maintain their rights, especially in isolated communities, they established colonial governments that would support self-government and the protection of individual rights. Again, there's an ocean separating them, no planes, trains, or automobiles. So if you needed things to be taken care of by the English government, it was going to take months. So they established some forms of self-government so that they can rule themselves and so society can run smoothly without having to have the interventions from the English that would take months in order to occur. Protestantism also called for independent churches, which are going to use self-government. And this is a contrast to your citizens of England who are used to being under Catholicism and the Church of England, and it relied on very centralized hierarchy. So your three examples of colonial governments that are extremely significant for the purposes of this course are the Virginia House of Burgesses, the Mayflower Compact, and the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, which we just discussed. Okay, the results of your colonial self-government include your colonists believing that their rights as British citizens are secured by both British and colonial documents, that the long distance from the centralized government in existence under salutary neglect caused the colonists to become self-governing and politically self-sufficient. So they're able to handle their own business themselves. It's not until the British government threatened the status of the American colonists' self-government that the colonists decided that they were going to rebel. It's like, hold on, wait, we've been doing this for years. We've been able to have self-government for such a long time. That's that whole idea of salutary neglect, hands off, I'm telling you that you can't do something, but I'm going to go ahead and let you do it anyway. And now all of a sudden the British want to enforce policies. The Virginia House of Burgesses is established in 1619, and it is going to serve as the first colonial assembly in the 13 colonies. So this assembly includes people that are elected throughout Virginia, and they meet to determine the laws of the colony, what the policies of the colony will be, and it is the first representative government in the colonies. That is, again, here's significance, ding, 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 for Virginia House of Burgesses. First representative government in the colonies. All right, the Mayflower Compact, which we've read and you decided whether or not you were going to sign it and all that other good stuff, is established in 1620. And the Pilgrims and Puritans who are traveling to Virginia on the Mayflower encounter the storm, remember the epic fail of navigation, and their boat is moved 1,000 miles off course. So they're outside of the jurisdiction of Virginia law. The laws of the Virginia Company don't apply to them, and the male members of the Mayflower are going to draw up this compact that guaranteed a democratic system of government and protection of individual rights. It becomes known as the Mayflower Compact. And it is where people decide that they are going to come together for the betterment of the society.